Welcome. My name is Penelope Chatterton. Welcome to Awaken the Dream. My friends, I'm so happy to be here and so grateful to the people that helped me in my life, like my director, Tim Riley. I was just asking him, when the heck did we start our Infinite Way work? And it's about 10 years. And it was in a little school, and we put things together, and now we're in this wonderful studio. And he knows my every move, so I am grateful for sure. And Liz Parker, who wrote a book called The Introduction to the Meaning of the Infinite Way. And my gosh, with 50 books and all those lectures, folks, if you have a problem at all trying to figure out where Joel is going, Liz can help you. And Michael Krupp, Acropolis Books, my God, he's heir to all of Joel's work. He has lectures, he has books, he has whatever you need is there. So I highly recommend you check that out. But anyway, it's time to get on with the show. And again, I'm so grateful that I'm here. I'm doing a show called The Fourth Dimension. And all I know is it was a shock to open that one up because Joel is trying to talk about what it's like to be born here in this dimension, the human dimension, where we're loaded with good and evil and the fear is just off the walls. And you know what? I think I need to be sensitive to all of us feeling not guilty that we fell for this dimension. What else did we have to be hit with? Yeah, one-upping. Just, you name the worst thing you can think of, and it's in this dimension, and we are privy to it. Politics is a perfect example of where not to go. I can't watch it anymore. But anyway, the fourth dimension is the real dimension. It's the dimension that does not speak of good and evil. It's the only one. It's the only power. It's divine love. It's where God hangs out with us. So hanging out with us, last time I think I mentioned we're one power, we're joined as one unit with God. Think about that. That's it. We walk on water, we have an individual expression, and we're God's children. So we're here, we have a job to do, and we're healers. All of us are healers. And if you like the infinite way, and you're interested in what life has dealt you, and you feel you need some inner peace, and you want some grace, and you want life to be easier and joyful and abundant and just filled with love, I recommend Joel Goldsmith, who I think was born in the late 1800s. And I have a joke to tell you. When I was listening to this lecture, he was talking about the great times we have as babies. We move into adulthood and old age. But he said, you know, think of those prime years of 30 to 35. Now, that's in 1958 or 59. And I'm laughing because it's 2024. And I've got news for Joel. It's not too bad in your 80s either. It's a great chapter. So I think we're living longer, my guess. So anyway, Joel is trying to help us think about the infinite way has two parts, the metaphysical part and the mystical part. The metaphysical part, which is in all his books, they're principles to help us get to being mystics, the divine power within us, the listening power within us. So there are some rules. Meditating. For sure, we need quiet time. We need to hear the still small voice. That's the real world. That is mind-blowing to a lot of people, that to jump out of this dimension, which is mortal, human, filled with fear, give and take, one-upping, stealing, murder, you name it, it's not real. So we have an opportunity by being students of the infinite way to say, this doesn't work for me. How can I walk on water? How can I be immortal? How can I feel eternal life? I guess I better study. So Joel mentions through meditation, through knowing, he really was strong about this world. The only world that's real is the one that Jesus told us about. And I never thought about Jesus as much as I have with this particular lecture, because all he saw in the multitudes, the woman who was ill, the man on the cross, leprosy, adultery, everything just meant he saw the children of God. That's all he could see because they're God's children. He couldn't see anything else, and he brought that message to us. And it's been picked up on many, many mystics who also share that message. And, you know, they become teachers because they become enlightened, and then their students become enlightened, and they share in the ways that they can. Now, here's the magic formula. It's really simple. The way you look at another is that they are whole, complete, and perfect, no matter what it looks like, whether they look good, whether they're bad, whether they're in jail, whether they're just awful people. It's not your job. If you want to walk on water, you have to do what Jesus recommended. See the child of God, no matter what, because that's what you're looking at. Whole, complete, and perfect. And guess what that makes you? Makes you a healer. Now, I've got a cute little story about, they call her Mother Eddy, Mary Baker Eddy. I never heard this story before. It's kind of charming. She apparently goes out in her horse and buggy and goes down this street, and everybody has to jump off the sidewalk because Mother Eddy is coming. And she smiles, she looks at everybody, but there's this man that fell off the pavement, and they put him back on, and he said, I wonder why. And then this woman came along who looked at him, and he looked at her. Now, he had problems, and after that look from Mary Baker Eddy, which was seeing him as this beautiful child of God, and she is an incredible healer, he was never the same. He was a new man. In other words, we have that job too. We can be healers for anyone we care to be healers to if we see them the way they really are. Friends, it sounds simple, and it actually is, even though it can be challenging. We're all in this together, you know. I'm asking you to join me and become a force for raising consciousness. Now, that's our job. You know what's interesting? I love this. Consciousness, what happens on the outside of our life is up to us. We can change that. We don't have to be a victim to what's coming at us, because that's not real. So we have an opportunity to say, hey, I can let that go. That's not what's going on in my life. My consciousness actually programs what my life is. So doesn't that give us a heads up about what to look for and how to be? If we want to program a divine life and walk on water and have miracles, our vision is important. We can't see anything but the divine in others, everywhere. Or then we become a victim of the human world, which hands out all this stuff that we then would have to deal with. And you know what? Let's be sensitive to being born into this dimension. I need to do that for me, because it's not easy. No, we were taught in the school, our parents taught us, the world taught us, politics taught us about fear and all the awful, awful things that are in this mortal dimension. We're loaded with good and evil. It's all about good and evil. And Joel, like Mary Baker Eddy, who I wish we could honor her more, because when I think of how she could look at somebody and heal them just with her vision, she was definitely like a Jesus or Paul or Moses. I mean, she knew what was going on. It's interesting too, because as much as she wanted to join others with her knowledge of spiritual healing, which was so brand new, she was turned down. So she ended up actually having to create the Christian Science Church with Key to the Scriptures. And they're sweet, they're brilliant, and they're alive and kicking. And Joel honored them because he became a Christian Scientist. He saw his father heal. He saw himself heal. He became a practitioner. He worked at the Mother Church in Boston. And so from that, he kind of got it that maybe we need to move somewhere else, because as wonderful as this is, and I honor it, he didn't want the politics of church. He wanted the invisible life, and that's really what the Infinite Way is telling us. We're free spirits. We are invisible. We will live forever. And you know what? God knew us before we were here. And there's a wonderful story he shares in this fourth dimension about this woman who was praying for her son who was dying and had acute pneumonia, and the doctor said, I'm sorry, I can't help him. He's going to be gone by morning. And then she prayed to God saying, oh, come on, please help me. Please heal him. And then later in the night, she said, oh my God, I screwed up. Forgive me, God. I shouldn't have said, do this to him. He's your child. Do what you want with him. I love that story because, of course, he was healed the next morning because she surrendered. Now, surrendered is a huge concept with the Infinite Way. Everything you think is an issue, you must sit down, count to 10, and say, I give this over. This is none of my business. God, you are the still small voice. You are this place that is in charge of everything. You're in charge of my abundance, my family, my love, everything. Can you imagine really getting it? That don't think you're waiting for your inheritance. If you really want your inheritance, surrender that and say, God, I'm yours. Whatever you want from me is perfect because guess what? The heavenly riches are what God gives you. And so God is in charge of everything you need. So surrender. And we're so brainwashed here. I'm asking you to be sensitive because, again, I'm in my 80s and I'm laughing that he thinks your prime is 30 to 35. Surrender. And it's comforting. We all want to lift our human energy to something even better. And there is a process here. We're trying to be illumined, so we have to remember, if it's in a process, be patient. Okay, I have none. I've run a marathon at 47. I finished. I have no patience. So I'm trying to get it that one step at a time. Now, if something comes along and I screw up, like you can do, forgive yourself. Go back to the drawing board, chuckle at yourself, and regroup where you need to go. Go to where God is, who has the heavenly riches. That means everything. Eternity, eternal love, abundance, great riches, great everything is right there with surrender. Don't pin it down to something you think you want or should have. You're limiting yourself, my friends. I got to remember that. I'm talking to myself, As a matter of fact, it's interesting to be a teacher or someone who fell in love with doing this because I was widowed so young with a couple of babies that, I was always looking for comfort. And my father was a Christian Scientist, my grandparents in the 1800s. It's like, what a heritage. And out of 4 girls, I'm the only one that took that baton because I needed healing. And I needed to study what my dad was talking about, even though we teased him. We didn't quite get where he was going because it sounded so far out. And I think when you're ahead of your time, sort of, with what the world tells you about religion, it's food for thought. Now, Joel talks about Hebrew concepts. And what the human concept in the Hebrew church was years ago is that we go to Sunday school, we go to bar mitzvah, we do everything right, we eat the right foods. That's what religion was. It wasn't so much the deep spiritual surrender, it was how we walk through life and what we do as good humans. And I love the fact that religions do that too. You go to Sunday school, you get baptized, you walk this road where you do everything perfectly, but are you inner with God? And I think Joel wants us to know there's a vacuum there, even with living perfectly good lives, as anyone in a religion or any philosophy, there's something that can be missing. And I agree with that. That something missing is the void within you that you really want God. You really, really want to feel that presence. And that requires time and patience because that's the goal. We're infinite. We're going to leave this planet. He does say we're here for a while. We leave these bodies. We go off somewhere else. He admits that, and that's fine with me. But, to just know that we can do better if we realize that we have everything. Don't fall for all the games that are in this dimension, in this human dimension, this mortal dimension. It's what we were taught. And because of Mary Baker Eddy, think of all the metaphysical churches that have come out with principles like hers. I mean, she was a way shower. I mean, I bow down to her today, as I do to Joel. And Joel, I hope I give you enough attention for how much you have done. Because I'm still laughing that in 1959 you were talking about prime years being 30 to 35. I beg to differ. And I've never differed with him, but it's kind of fun. I have a sense of humor, and I love slapstick in particular. So we want this dimension. We want this plateau, which is simple. It helps us relax. It helps us to breathe and say, all is well right now. Everything's perfect right now. I can breathe, I can relax, I'm in this dimension, it's perfect. But my friends, you have to work your way to get to the point where you actually meditate and deeply breathe and feel the connection. And listen for the hunches. The hunches are huge. I am very fond of the hunches that I get. And, you know, those are little miracles. The strangest hunches you can get about things which sound silly are not. Right down to the space of the market or what you found in the supermarket, anything, is if you listen and let go of all your preconceived notions about how you think your day should go. Let your day go and let God say, it's all yours. What are we doing? What's up? How can I grow more and be more in love with the contact we have together as we are one being? And I love the idea that we're all individual expressions. We're all God's children. And I want to get back to Jesus, because I haven't given Jesus enough attention. There's so many friends I have that actually have Jesus come and talk to them. And Joel says he's so alive right now. I mean, think of all he has done for us, bringing his message of peace and being children of God and having everything. I mean, he had his struggles, there's no question. Joel had his struggles. He's the first to admit, as a mystical student, he struggled. I've struggled. We all struggle. But the struggle gets us further into the deep part of us that is looking for that core. We're looking for God. We want that hand held. We want to feel that presence. We want to relax. You're looking at somebody who doesn't do that well, but I want to relax. So my friend, the heavenly riches, everything you could ever dream of having, be it a yacht. I think Joel mentions, you want a yacht? Relax, you might get one. Think about that. Think about what Jesus was trying to tell us when he looked at the crowd and he looked at people who could be looked at as sick or not well or evil. And he never saw that. That was his great message. He only saw the children of God. So that's our job. So let's be healers. And I love the fact that even Mother Eddy, I never heard of that story of her with the chariot, looking at someone with the love that she had and the knowledge she had, that Jesus had, that Joel learned how to have. She could heal. And my friends, think of the people in your life that you really have trouble with. If you want to have them in your life, if you're interested, or maybe they'll leave you, but see them for who they are. That's a gift you can give anybody and everybody. I always go back to politics because it's so outrageous, where we have to pray hard for people to find the love in their hearts and not pick on each other and work together as a team. I love the word democracy, where we're allowed to speak and do all these things. And I love the United States. I always have. So back to the fourth dimension. It exists, my friends. It's the only one. It's the only power. It's the only thing that is real. Trust me, trust Joel, trust Mary Baker Eddy, trust Jesus. It's the only one that's real. So, because we have implanted within us a divine spark that's been with us a long time before we even entered this body, we've all been given the gift from God. We are his children, so why wouldn't he give us his gift? He gave us the gift of divine love. The spark is there and it can be lit. So everybody has got it. So pray for the world, surrender, ask for forgiveness if you need it with your vision. As this woman who said, God, I'm so sorry I prayed for my son. I had no right to do that. He's yours. Long before I had him and knew him, help him, do what you will. And of course, in the release, my friends, you will find That other dimension, the fourth dimension, is the real one. We came here to be teachers, to work with consciousness, to dissolve the human consciousness. We raise it up with our consciousness, which is divine. So we all can do this. Every one of us can do it. You can be a poet. You can be an artist. You can look at a painting. Now, this is interesting. He said, look at a painting, and you might say, oh, that's modern. Someone might say, no, it isn't, or I don't see what's in that. He said, even looking at a painting, surrender what you're looking at, because the artist is the one that had the divine power to put that together. As you release it, let the painting talk to you. I thought that was a very interesting concept. When you look at your friends, too, you don't know who they are until you surrender them to the divine power of let them appear to you as who they really are. You can give them that gift with forgiveness, with love, acceptance. Nice, I love that. Well, I'm getting through this, my friends, and I'm winding down, but all I can say is Acropolis Books has all the information you could ever want on Joel's wonderful contribution. And when I think of what he went through and how he struggled with his mystical nature, he didn't find it easy, and he worked hard at it. He had years of poverty, and things weren't working, and he just prayed, and he kept growing and learning. We're in a process. We are trying to be enlightened because that's within us to do that. We can be enlightened. And that's my last note, my friends. We're on a journey. We can be enlightened. We can go home because we're already there. And who knows what's next? I know it's going to be wonderful because we will live forever. We are eternal life. We will live forever because God made us. Thank you for joining me on Awaken the Dream. Talk to you again soon.